Hello, and welcome back to the channel. This is Jennifer for the Median, and today we are in the 2021 Mazda 3 Hatchback. But there's a little bit more to it than that. When the Mazda 3 came out, the fourth generation Mazda 3 came out, won all kinds of accolades and awards for being a very pretty, very attractive vehicle that satisfied a lot of needs. But there was one itch that it wouldn't scratch, and that was in the power department. So now you can get a Mazda 3 Turbo with a 2.5 liter inline 4 and turbo power. I like turbo power. Turbo power is good. If you're on the good stuff, that would be 93 octane. You get 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. That's a whole lot of torque in a little car. If you can't get the good stuff when you're on regular octane, that number drops down to 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Only a 10 pound-foot loss. Not terrible. All in a little compact car. The other thing that the Turbo does for the Mazda 3 is bring up the cash register. You can get the Turbo in a sedan or a hatchback like what we have today. And the hatch is about $1,000 more than the sedan. The sedan brings in at like 29 and change, and the hatchback is 30 and change, unless you do the Premium Plus package, which adds like gloss black stuff on the outside, leather seats, heated steering wheel, heated seats, navigation. Then you jump up by another couple $1,000 in the $33,000 range. So, Mazda 3 Hatchback Turbo, Premium Plus, $33,000. It's a lot of money for a compact car. Is it worth it? Is it better? Well, the Mazda 3 is a really nice car. And in the Turbo, no matter what, you're getting a 6-speed automatic with pedal shifters. You can't get a manual. Wah, wah, wah. But you also get all-wheel drive, no matter what. And the all-wheel drive system is tuned a little bit differently than it is in other Mazda models. It can send more torque to the back. There's a beefed-up differential in the back to handle some of that, like 30% more. There's a sport mode, which we're now in, which will actually downshift under braking, so it'll hold the gears as you go through turns. It has something Mazda calls G-Vectoring Control Plus, which will send power to the wheels that need it. It's supposed to help you in corners to quell like understeer and make it a little more playful. It does a pretty good job in drive, especially if you're in sport mode, if you want to be on the more athletic side of this car's nature. But this isn't really a hot hatch. It's a more refined compact car that has power above and beyond what its competitors do. There's something Mazda calls a dynamic pressure turbo system. So it feeds exhaust gases through a tiny little inlet to spool up the turbo at low RPM, and then it opens up a bigger inlet when you get out of low into your sort of regular operational rev range, so that there's boost on demand, or boost on hand rather, when you need it. Like in pretty much every other Mazda, there's a beautiful screen here. In this particular model, it's an 8.8-inch screen that's not a touch screen. You can't slide it, can't pinch it, can't touch it. I mean, you can touch it, but it ain't gonna do anything. You get this control knob down here to work through everything. It spins and it pushes down, and then it goes side to side and up and down. So there's all kinds of different actions you can do here to interact with that. And for the most part, it actually works really well. The only time that I have issue with it or take issue with it is if you've got Apple CarPlay on, which, as I've said before, Apple CarPlay and it's designed like the phone, which is a touch and slide thing, and then to do it with knobs, it just doesn't work that well. But you can talk to it, and it does a good job with that. Mazda talks about as well that they spent a lot of time trying to make this car comfortable. Mazda's engineers really worked on the human form factor and trying to get this seat perfectly comfortable. Now, I'm a tall person, and I don't quite fit in the seat, but it is comfortable, especially when the heat's on a cold, snowy day like today. They actually played around with the pressure of the accelerator pedal, added a little more weight to it, but in the right way so it doesn't stress your muscles and your leg. They did the same with the brake pedal so that if you're in stop and go traffic, it's not going to tire out your leg muscles. It's a comfortable car for such a small vehicle. Where it's not comfortable is the back seat. Not a lot of room back there. And the really unfortunate thing is, this car is attractive. Why is that unfortunate? Because to get the lines that make it look really cool, the window in the back, the belt line in the back goes up and sort of cuts off the window into a teardrop thing, and it limits visibility. There's a pretty thick B-pillar here, and then if you're looking out the back in the hatch, you're basically looking out a periscope. From here it's okay, but if you're sitting in the back, it's like you're in a bathtub. So that's the downside to this car looking as nice as it does. There are a couple annoying things. We should touch on those. Every time you get in the car and you start it up, or you're already in the car and you pick up a passenger, you know the little chimes that happen to remind you to put your seatbelt on? Usually those are like 4 to 6 dings in other cars. Not in here. It's okay. It's not super annoying, but 8 times in a row, like 4 would have been good, and then I've been fine. The other really annoying thing in this car, which is true in I think every Mazda, certainly every Mazda we've had in the last year, you turn off the car, get out, get back in, whatever. Every time you get in the car when it's been put in park and turned off, it applies the parking brake. It's an electronic parking brake. I get in, put it in drive, and I want to go. Nope, parking brake. Every single time. Leave it up to me, Mazda. Let me decide. The hatch is also not that big. There's not all kinds of room. You can't curl up in the back. If you got a big dog, maybe if you have the back seats down, you can have them running around back here, but there's not a huge amount of room, and the way the cut line is on the body, it sort of limits stackable space in the hatch as well. So there are definitely more usable hatchbacks out there. Are they as attractive as the Mazda 3? Nope, they are not. And speaking of looking cool, when you get the turbo, there's some other aero stuff that's on here. So there's a front air dam, there's a wing on the top, and there's a rear diffuser and side sill skirts. So it looks a little more aggressive than a standard 3. But like all other Mazdas, everything inside here is really nice to touch. This control module knob thing here is really nice. The volume knob, which also works for going fore and aft and like song selections, is great. Your favorite buttons down here. Again, the system's easy to use once you know how to use it, and it works well. The surfaces are nice to touch. This is soft leather in here. This contrasting stitching is really pretty. The steering wheel is nice to touch. Even the knobs up here have a weight to them and a tactility that's just really easy. And there's a slimline design. It's sort of a minimalist design inside the cabin. And it looks great. Then you've got this 7-inch sort of interactive instrument panel where it looks like regular gauges with needles swinging by, analog gauges, but it's not. You turn the car off and that all disappears. That's just a digital rendering, so you can have other info displayed in there. And then Mazda's got all their safety stuff on here. They've got the lane keep assist, and there's a head-up display. There's eye active sense on the turbo, which now will actually, if you're like 2 to 4 miles an hour and you're backing up, it will actually apply the brakes if it senses another vehicle in their rear cross traffic that you don't see. Another nice thing that Mazda added is 360 view. You get this overhead view, and that's looking back, and you switch it, look in a different direction, front, and still overhead. You get the side views too. And then there's the My Mazda app, which you put in your phone, and you can remote start the car, you can lock the doors, unlock the doors, you can check up on the service history and the service intervals for the car, all of that stuff right in your app. So really you do get quite a bit for that roughly $30,000 price of entry. But once you reach that price point, there are so many other vehicles that are bigger, that have sort of the same sort of features, that are competing for those dollars. So with the Mazda 3 Turbo, Mazda's right on the edge of sort of pricing themselves out of competition. And that's too bad, because it really is a fun car. I would say the best summary of the Mazda 3 Turbo is that it's an attractive, premium compact with sporting flair. And if you want to write a check for 30 grand to get one, more power to you.